How's it going, guys? Ragnar here, and today is my first wrestling DVD review, and today we are talking about Ring of Glory.
Ring of Glory.
Okay, so the first thing I want to do for this is I want to run through the card, let you guys know who's actually wrestling tonight, and then I'll let you know whether or not I think you should actually watch this pay-per-view. I believe it was a pay-per-view or an event. I'm not sure what to call it. There's not a lot of information of it online, but it is on DVD, strangely enough. So I'm going to run through the card, and then I'll tell you whether or not I think you should actually watch it, and then I will talk a little bit more about match to match and then what happens between. But let's start off with just going through the card. Let me get my cheat sheet here because I didn't know who most of these people are. I knew a fair amount of them, but yeah, let me just tell you who's in which match. We have 5 matches, and then I will tell you what they're known for. Excuse me. So we've got Rooney Mac and Jazz versus Bill Buchanan. Rooney Mac and Bill Buchanan were in WWE for a little while, and that's about all I know, other than they are currently, I think they're currently still on the independent circuit. I don't know much about them, and that's sort of a trend that you will see from the rest of this. I did do some research on them, and they didn't seem to be anything special. Match 2, you have Mike Sanders and Eric Watts versus D'Lo Brown and Glenn Gilberti. Mike Sanders and Eric Watts, again, both sort of independent guys. They were both in WCW for a little while, and then once that, stopped, they were in TNA for a little while, and then they've done a lot of independent stuff. D'Lo Brown, he's one of the guys I did know before I booted this up. D'Lo Brown was in WWE for a while. He was part of the Nation of Domination, big in the Attitude Era. He's a good wrestler. And then Glenn Gilberti, it's interesting because they passed off Glenn Gilberti as a complete joke character in this. But from what I've seen online, he's held gold 4 times. He's had 4 different titles. He was in WCW for 6 years, and sure, he was sort of a jokey character, being the Disco Inferno. But yeah, it's weird that, and I may be talking about this a little too early, but D'Lo Brown says that every time he got in the ring, he got beat 1, 2, 3. But that's not really true because he held the TV title twice. He held the tag team titles once, and he had something else. I don't remember what the other title was. Oh well, doesn't matter. So match 3, Spike Dudley versus Mark Jindrak. So Spike Dudley was from ECW. He was one of the Dudley Boys. That's pretty self-explanatory. He was the small one. He was in TNA for a while, and currently he is retired from wrestling. And then you have Mark Jindrak, who is the far more interesting of the two. Mark Jindrak, in my notes, when I saw him, I wrote, "Oh, look, it's Randy Orton," because he did the whole, Adonis pose, and he sort of looks like Randy Orton. He went to each corner and did that. Or, well, he got interrupted. But the point is, that was my first impressions of him. And I looked up later, and apparently he got called up from WCW by Triple H and was offered to be one of the members of Evolution. He was supposed to be the 4th member. Batista was not supposed to be in Evolution. Jindrak was supposed to be in Evolution. And for some reason that fell through, and Batista ended up, becoming the 4th member. So, yeah, I found that incredibly interesting. And that was, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine he would actually have been here had that happened. His career might have gone in a much different path. Oh well, such is life, I suppose. There's not really any information about why online, but who knows. And then match 4, you have Kevin Northcutt versus X-Pac. Kevin Northcutt has almost no information about him out there. He's in the independent circuit currently, and I can see why they got him for this, because he looks like he just came out of Juggalo Championship Wrestling. I mean, he looks fucking haggard and like a scumbag. So he's perfect for this, because he's supposed to be wrestling on the side of the devil, or Percy Pringle, as he is known. Yes, for those of you very astute and who know a lot about Paul Bearer, Percy Pringle is one of his other incarnations, and he is part of this, and he's pretty much the only good part of it. But anyway, back to his opponent, X-Pac. X-Pac is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Definitely top 10, probably top 5. I fucking love X-Pac. And, you know, even though I don't care for one of his finishing moves, the Bronco Buster, and even though he has ripped his anus twice doing that move, he is one of my favorite wrestlers. His matches are always good. He was the benchmark for WWE for the longest time. If they were bringing in a new guy, they would put you in a match with X-Pac, and if you could do a good job, then it was all good. You were going places, because X-Pac worked so well with other people and was such a good wrestler. A bad match is not in his vocabulary. I fucking love X-Pac, and I will refer to him as X-Pac during this entire review, even though he is billed as Six-Pac. But yeah, no, if I for some reason had a job at WWE, I would make it my life's journey to somehow get in close with Vince McMahon and get like an X-Pac best of DVD set made, because as per currently, such a thing does not exist, and it makes me very sad. I would also probably try and get a Rikishi best of DVD made, and maybe Too Cool, and the Acolytes. That would be pretty sweet. But anyway, yeah, X-Pac, Kevin Northcutt. That is match 4, and then match 5, and this was the one. In my notes, this is our main match. This is the Stairway to Heaven match, and I know what you're thinking. That sounds insane. Who wrote it? Yep, Vince Russo. So the Stairway to Heaven match. I wrote in my notes, or at least I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I wrote, "Who are these people and why should I care?" Because I had never heard of any of them. Some of them I may have heard of if I was into Ring of Honor. I've never watched any Ring of Honor. I keep meaning to get into it, and I keep not knowing where to start. So if you have a good starting place for that, let me know. Yeah, so the first guy in our match is Sal Rinauro, and he was in Ring of Honor. That was his claim to fame when this happens. He was really young when this happened. All the guys in this match were really young. I think that was kind of the point. They wanted this Stairway to Heaven match to be like a turning point in someone's adult young life, because all the other guys have fairly established careers and are fairly old. This was 2006. X-Pac was not young at this point. Neither was any of the other guys, for that matter. Certainly D'Lo Brown wasn't. But yeah, so he was in Ring of Honor for a little while, and then he ended up here, and then I think he went back to Ring of Honor, and he's done some independent stuff, and that was him. And then after that, you had Jimmy Rave, again, of Ring of Honor fame. He had a little time there, then he did some independent stuff, and then he went back to Ring of Honor, and then he had a drug problem, and I think he ended up like his was the weirdest. I was looking at his timeline, and it was all over the goddamn place. It was like he's here, he's there, he's here, he's there, he's here, he's there. But I think he got on the straight and narrow in terms of drugs eventually, and I think he might be on the independent circuit again. I'm not sure. And then we have Air Paris. Air Paris had a cup of coffee in WCW, and that was his claim to fame. They talked it up like he had a big break. No, not at all. And then after that, he did the independent circuit, and that's really all I could find on him. And the last guy, and strangely enough, the guy that I was the most impressed by in this match, and we'll get to that later, is CJ Summers. Now, I'm going to put this down. I looked up CJ Summers, or tried to, rather, and he didn't get a whole lot. Like, these guys, the other guys, everyone had either a Wikipedia or an entry on, like, Pro Wrestle Wiki, or, like, you could find, like, their win-loss ratio and stuff like that, or DVDs with them on it in the independent circuit, or stuff on YouTube from, like, Ring of Honor. This dude, I could not find almost anything on, and the first thing that popped up on Google was his entry on Cheaterville. Apparently, while he was bouncing back and forth between the United States and Ireland for independent wrestling, he was banging everything with two legs, and the girl he had been engaged to for like 3 years finally caught him and dumped his ass. As per current, I think he still wrestles in New Jersey. I think, but honestly, no idea. Yeah, really strange. If you had asked me which of these four guys is going to end up somewhere, I would have said Sal and CJ with the tip of the hat to CJ, because the stuff that he does in this is really quite good. Oh, wait a minute. I've forgotten a match. That's right. There is a match after our main event. I don't know if it was to kill time. No idea. But we have a Divas match, I guess. It is Jazz versus Trinity and Rain, both of TNA fame. I didn't write anything about them because these people I actually know. Yes, we'll get to that. I have a few words to say about that match. Okay, so now I have to talk about whether or not I think you should actually go out and watch or even buy Ring of Glory. You know, it's got some people in it that I really like, so, you know, you'd think maybe I'd recommend it. That is not the case at all. Almost every match on this event is horrible. They're awfully paced, and the production values are non-existent. And you can tell right from the start that the crowd really isn't that into it, and by the end of it, a lot of people have left. And I guess the other thing that I have to mention about Ring of Glory is that it is a promotion created by Vince Russo after he became a born-again Christian. So it is called Ring of Glory, the Great Commission, and it is a combination of wrestling and, you know, like Christian scripture, you know, trying to put out a message. And you can do that with wrestling, but it doesn't work here. I might recommend not doing religion and wrestling. You can do emotion and wrestling, or have a message and wrestling, but I'm not so sure about Christianity and wrestling. Okay, so that's what I think about Ring of Glory. I don't think you should get it. And now we're going to run through the matches a little bit more. I'm going to talk about sort of what happens between each one. So this is the part if you don't want spoilers. If you do, for whatever reason, do want to go see it, this is the part where you stop. So our first match was Rodney Mack and Jazz against Bill Buchanan. Jazz is on the outside. She's the wife of Rodney Mack, and she's sort of playing the managerial role. They both come in. They're both pretty big guys, and for an opening match, I did not dig this. It was really quite slow. There were a fair amount of rest holds, considering it was this early in the night. You didn't get a lot of technical stuff. There were a couple of nice little spots, a kind of cool snap power slam that looked nice, and one of the most dainty backbreakers I've ever seen. At one point in the match, Bill Buchanan picks up Rodney Mack and goes to picks him up and goes to slam him on his knee, and he like just daintily just sets him down and puts him on the floor. Not good. Not a good match. And the match ends with Rodney Mack going on the offensive and slamming Buchanan down, and then Jazz tells him to go for one more, and this is the first point in the match where the crowd sort of seems into it. They're like, yeah, do it again, slam him again. Picks up Buchanan, gets him in position, Buchanan slides off, he pushes Rodney Mack, and then Jazz like elbows him in the head. His wife just clatters him in the face.
Get off straight up. Oh, Mac, put in. Hang on a second. What? Oh! Oh, Crunch, what did...
He goes down. Buchanan gets the pin, 1, 2, 3, and that is a victory for Percy Pringle, a.k.a. Paul Bearer, a.k.a. Satan, who is trying to get all of the wrestlers to go his way. He seems to have a stable of wrestlers in this event that he is trying to use to convert the newer guys to his line of thinking or whatnot. That's sort of the overtone of this entire thing. That actually the show opens with Paul Bearer coming out and talking to the crowd. You can't really hear it because the audio is awful on this. It's just, you hear it over the PA system, and it's not a good room. Actually, probably the best part in the entire DVD, and I'll splice in a clip, is Jazz backstage talking to Paul Bearer, and Paul Bearer just having fun with things, just puts on this face and like leans his chin back so it's non-existent, just kind of like starts tilting his head. I'll put that in right here.
This, baby, I got this. How in the world are you gonna come and approach me and my husband like this, talking about how long it took us to get to the top? Yeah, it may have taken us a little while, but that's how you do things the right way, and we did things the right way. So what you need to do is get your little devilish behind up out of here and scoot up out of our face.
And besides that, I mean, he's fun pretty much any time he comes out, but that's it for the first match. Jazz goes off with Paul Bearer, or Percy Pringle as they keep calling him here, as his older incarnation, his older heel incarnation. And yeah, it was not a good match. Not happy about that. And actually, I think if they would have switched match 1 and match 2, because you have these two big guys fighting a slower match, I think you need something a little bit quicker paced, or something to get a little bit more heat with the crowd to start off with, because again, the crowd sort of get into it at the end, but then after the whole betrayal or whatnot, you know, they don't seem to be digging it. But if you would have made the second match the first match and the first match the second match, I think you would have gotten the crowd way more into it, because the second match is Mike Sanders and Eric Watts versus D'Lo Brown and Glenn Disco Inferno Gilberti. I like D'Lo Brown. I didn't like him here. He came out and was talking about how you know, he lost everything and then he gave his faith to the Lord, and he you know, got to see his daughter again and got back with his wife. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but the point is, I was really rooting for the other guys here, and Mike Sanders and Eric Watts come out. And Eric Watts, I actually wanted to look up and watch some more matches with him, because he's a type of wrestler I kind of like, which is a guy that looks like how he has like legs for like 1,000,000 miles. He's very much looks like Kevin Nash. He's extremely tall, and all of his height is in his legs. But they come out and they start talking about Christmas, because apparently this was around Christmas time, and he says probably my favorite line in the entire pay-per-view, which is, "So you think these wise men, they were traveling through the desert with snow up to here."
These 3 wise men on camels through snow up to here, went to a manger, and there was a present named Jesus.
Now, I'm not the most versed man in the world with the Middle East, but I'm pretty sure not a lot of snow. Not a lot of snow in the middle of the desert. Okay, so this match starts off, and there's a little bit more action here. You have a lot of like action in the ring while action is going outside. It's D'Lo Brown is mostly getting worked over for this one. You know, Watts takes him outside, throws him into like the guardrail, and then they get him back inside, and Sanders, you know, does some pretty cool looking moves with D'Lo. And, you know, D'Lo has some decent offense, and the people are really into D'Lo because, you know, he had that little speech at the beginning. And, you know, this is taking place in the South, and the people who came here came to see a combination of wrestling and, you know, Christian doctrine. So that's it. This is their niche. And, you know, D'Lo was a big star. People are digging him. Unfortunately for them, I suppose, D'Lo ends up losing this match because he's been worked over this whole match. He goes to tag Glenn Gilberti, and Glenn Gilberti just steps off the ring apron, walks over to the other corner. Watts tags him in. He comes in. He does the YMCA.
Oh, give me a break. Oh, the YMCA, the most disgusting move in sports entertainment. The Village People's Elbow, ridiculous. Oh, Gilberti.
And then the Village People's Elbow, sort of a rip-off of The Rock's People's Elbow there. And he gets the pin, 1, 2, 3. While I was watching this, my first thought was like, wait, why is the ref allowing this? Why is the ref allowing... Like, if you're having a tag team match, you can't have your teammate all of a sudden decide to turn heel and then pin you. I'm sure the ref would be like, what are you doing? It would have made more sense if he would have had like Watts pin him or something like that. But yeah, Gilberti goes over to the side of Watts and Sanders, and he goes back to the back. He gets changed into some sweet ass clothing. He's got the same Zubaz I'm wearing, and yeah, he does an interview, talks about how the people want to hear him sing, goes back out, and we get a sort of ceremony for Ron Simmons. I love Ron Simmons. Farouk is awesome, and the Acolytes as a whole and the APA are awesome. Again, wish there was a best of DVD of them. Ron Simmons in general, really cool guy, very strong, very powerful. So the fact that they're giving him this acknowledgement, I kind of thought that was cool. They were giving him a little bit of an honor, having him show up and do stuff. And then he's a little bit older, so when Glenn Gilberti comes out during part of that and starts, doing stuff, and D'Lo Brown comes out and they get into a fight again. It's almost like a second match for these guys. They wanted to put more story in there than I guess they could do in one event, so they just crammed it all in. And then Ron Simmons ends up saving the day. D'Lo Brown does a 5-star frog splash, a horrible looking 5-star frog splash, onto, I believe, Gilberti, and then, that's the end of that.
Oh, hang on a second. You've done it now. Ron Simmons. No! Simmons is in the ring. Down goes Watts. He hasn't missed a step. Ron Simmons, the All-American, the Seminole. Oh, and Disco gets one for his trouble.
That's the end of that storyline. Ron Simmons goes back to the back. I love his sweater, and that's it for that. Then we move on to our next match. The next match is Spike Dudley versus Mark Jindrak. And this was entertaining because Spike Dudley here, I've seen him before, and his gimmick is he's the small man. He has the same sort of thing as like Rey Mysterio or whatever. He is the tiny guy in wrestling. And, he looks really out of shape here. He looks like a freaking, heroin addict. He's, so skinny, and his arms look skeletal. I've seen him do matches later than this, and I've seen his matches in the past, and he looks far more fit. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's crappy cameras, crappy lighting. He just looks awful here. And of course, he's fighting, this Goliath of a man. Mark Jindrak is not a small man. I think it would have been an interesting dichotomy to have him in Evolution because he would have been taller than everyone else. But, we get some cool stuff here. Mark Jindrak, launches Spike up into the air, maybe 8-10 feet in the air, and he just falls back down.
Broke out of the Towers bear hug. Ducks a clothesline up top. Oh my goodness!
Onto the canvas. It does not look like it was a nice landing, but yeah, you get some cool stuff with that. You get Mark Jindrak throwing him onto the guardrails on the outside. Yeah, this was okay. This was an okay match. Although I absolutely hate the. I haven't mentioned this because I've been blocking out most of the time during this event, but the commentator is not very good. He's awful. And the entire time in this match, he's talking about David and Goliath. And, you know, obviously, the first time he heard that, I was like, oh, okay, Spike Dudley's going to win. And he does. He's laying on the floor. Jindrak goes to, you know, like, show off to the crowd or whatever. Spike reaches up, rolls him up, 1, 2, 3. And the ref fast counts it. He makes it real quick. But Jindrak loses. He beats up Spike after the bell. And there you go. We finally have our first victory for not the bad guys. So I guess, go team. After that, we have Kevin Northcutt versus X-Pac. As I said earlier, Kevin Northcutt looks like a scumbag. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on him besides the fact that he was still sort of wrestling independently in the sort of Mid-South area. He is the only one of the evil guys that seems to not really want to do what he's doing, which is strange because he's the one that looks the most like devious. He's the one that, like, if this was WWE in the 90s, he would have been the Undertaker. You know, he looks such like a scumbag. And this match starts with Percy Pringle in the ring with him. Percy Pringle hands him like a pair of scissors and he puts it in his tights.
Introducing his opponent.
And, you know, you see that and you're immediately like, okay, he is going to, you know, this is going to be at least a little bit of a hardcore match. He is going to either stab X-Pac or slice him open with the scissors at some point. Strangely enough, never happens. Never happens. He never pulls them back out. The ref, you know, doesn't check him and sees that they're there. Just, he looks at him, he goes, yeah, puts him in his tights, and that's the end of it. We never hear head nor tail of it. X-Pac comes out, he goes through the crowd and high-fives everyone because he's a good guy. It made me real sad. I was hoping that X-Pac was going to be on my team, but nope, he's fighting for God, so that's fine. Like I said, I frickin' love X-Pac, and sadly this match is not very good. This is like the worst X-Pac match I've ever seen. It's probably the only bad X-Pac match I've ever seen. You know, he does get his standard stuff in. He, you know, does a Bronco Buster, he gets the X Factor, and he does end up winning. But all in all, this match is kind of, you know, it's not what you would expect from an X-Pac match, and it doesn't seem like Northcutt's the problem. It seems like X-Pac is just not really wanting to do this. Maybe he just wanted to make a little bit of money. Maybe it was a favor for Vince Russo, but he doesn't look like his heart is in this tonight, much like it is with a lot of other stuff he did. And, yeah, it's just sad seeing the one match that I was really excited for on the card, the match that made me buy the DVD. I saw X-Pac on the front of the DVD box, and I said, I need to own that. I need to get that. Because again, there's no, like, best of X-Pac stuff. Like, he's in matches on DVDs I own, but it's, like, few and far between. I think there's, like, what, 1 or 2 on the 20 episodes of Raw in the Anniversary Collection or whatever. Yeah, it makes me so sad because of the little tidbits I can sort of grab onto. This one's not good, so it makes me sad. And here we are. We're at our main event. The the Stairway to Heaven match. A Vince Russo match, if ever I did see one. So the logic behind this match is it is a 4-way match, and it is elimination rules, much like the old ECW 3-way matches. You got to get rid of 2 people by pinfall or submission, and once those 2 are gone, the final 2 partake in a ladders match, and they have to climb the ladder and get the sword that is hanging above the ring. Seems a little unsafe, hanging a sword from above the ring, but yeah. So this is we get our 4 sort of random guys, our cruiserweight guys. I guess the point for these again was to sort of put them over since they are newer, they are younger guys, trying to give them a little push, trying to get him in the direction. I mean, this was supposed to turn into like a full-on thing. This was not supposed to be a one-off. There were apparently 2 other episodes. That's the little bit of info I could find about Ring of Glory online. And if you type in Ring of Glory into Google, Ring of Honor is the only thing that really shows up. You get a couple little bits about Ring of Glory, the Great Commission, but yeah, I was told there were 2 more matches that actually, or 2 more episodes, like TV episodes that actually aired of this before it was canceled, but I can't really find any record other than like a couple of places online just saying like, oh, it happened. But yeah, this match is probably the best match of the night, just because all these guys seem fairly athletic. They can do a decent amount of moves. There are several pretty obvious botches. The one that sticks out in my mind the most is Sal goes to, he gets up and he gets thrown into the ropes by Rave, and Rave goes down to, it looks like he's trying to do like an arm drag, but to his leg to like pull him over and put him on the canvas.
Make a tag, but it's not your partner. Oh!
But he screws it up real bad, and it looks like he just punches his lower leg, and Sal sort of like trips and falls into the corner. He tags out. Someone else comes in. Like I said earlier, the guy that I thought would be, the guy that I was kind of hoping would be the winner, and the guy that I thought would get the most success in his wrestling life was the CJ Summers, the guy that I can find almost no information on, the guy that was on Cheaterville or whatever that frickin' website was. He's very athletic, doing things like Hurricane Ranas and doing a lot of like really cool looking stuff. I think he jumped off the turnbuckle once and did some like a somersault. Same with Air Paris. He did like a corkscrew off of the turnbuckle onto the concrete of 2 other guys. Because it does sort of break down in the middle there, and all 4 guys are just kind of going at it. We have 2 eliminations, and it ends up being Air Paris and Jimmy Rave. So 1 guy that was in WCW, 1 guy that was in ROH. And, you know, they have a match for a little while. They bust up a bunch of ladders. They do some really vicious ladder shots. Stuff that looks like nasty, which is good job. Solid work. Good job, guys. We have Air Paris up getting tangled in the ropes. I'll put a clip in, but it.
Now Rave sets up his ladder in center ring. Paris is tied up in the ropes.
He doesn't. He like falls into the ropes, and he looks like he's. Oh, hold on! I gotta pretend that I'm stuck in the ropes, otherwise he won't be able to climb the ladder fast enough. Because Jimmy Rave goes up the ladder, he gets the sword. Right as he gets the sword, Air Paris like gets out of it. Yeah, this was an okay match, but I just didn't care about any of these guys. I didn't know them much. The one I liked the best was Sal, because he was wearing an armband with Brack on it from Space Ghost Coast to Coast. That was kind of cool. They were also really stiff in Sal. It was man, they did some like chops and knife edges to him that sounded really not nice. I wonder if he told them to do that so that it would make a nice sound, or if they were just kind of being dicks.
No question. I just don't think that in the South again.
Okay, so after the match, you get Percy Pringle coming out, and he's like, "Hey, you got the Sword of Wisdom. You got all this, but you could have more. You could have the cars, the money, the women. All you have to do is you have to give your spirit to me. You have to give it to me, or otherwise I'm just going to take it, and I'll give you 20 minutes to think about it." He goes backstage, and he gets interviewed by Goldilocks, who is our interview girl for this. There was actually an earlier part with her talking to Vince Russo, and Vince Russo like shows off her Jesus pants. I'll show them here, but they are amazing. I want to know where I could get pants like these. And I mean, strangely enough, I looked her up as well. I think she was like during TNA she was Eric Watts' on-screen girlfriend in TNA for a little while, and then she was a manager, and her real name is like Moonshadow. Like it's she has a music career or something. It's weird. But she's interviewing, this kid, this Jimmy Rave kid, and it's a horrible interview. All of a sudden, you're like, was Jimmy Rave supposed to be like a heel? Because he's like, 20 minutes ago, I was just a kid. I didn't have any responsibilities. Now I have this, and he's like showing off the sword. And I'm like, guy, you don't have any you just won a match. Settle down. It's not like they gave you the freaking Intercontinental title. I don't understand why he's making a big deal about this. That ends, and then we have Jazz in the arena. And this part is weird. Again, there's no information about Ring of Glory sort of online. This is the part of the DVD that I found sort of the most interesting, because Jazz is saying, I've been looking for an opponent all night. I can't find anybody. Is there anyone in the crowd that wants to fight me? And they start panning about, with the light, looking for someone. I didn't know they had this light. The arena was so poorly lit for the most part. But they start looking around, and they see, not in the front like you would think if it was a plant, but like sort of a couple sections back and to the right and in a corner, you see Trinity and Rain from TNA. And Jazz goes, "Come on, Trinity, come wrestle me." And she starts, talking to her, starts trying to aggravate her and get her to come up. She looks like she was literally she's in her civvies. She looks really disconcerted.
To me, it seems you gotta be pretty athletic to be a stunt woman, right? So, Trinity, I feel that maybe I should offer you the challenge. You think you want to come up here and challenge me tonight? What do y'all think, ladies and gentlemen?
She looks like, I'm not fucking doing this. People come, like, Goldilocks comes out and starts talking to her, and it looked like for a second someone else came out and started talking to her. Like, she's like, this is not happening. If she is a plant, she is selling it very, very well. And it kind of makes me think she is, because she's in the crowd, and then eventually she comes out and starts wrestling. And during the whole time, the frickin' commentator is going like, she's here just like everyone else. She's just a fan. But she, you'd figure if she was a plant, they would give her at least semi-wrestleable in clothes. They wouldn't make her wear, like, her and Rain for that matter, like tight-ass jeans, and like, you would probably wear like a sports bra, just so your boobs won't bounce. But it's weird, because the first time she's like, "Hey, Trinity, come up here," she looks like she really doesn't want to, and Jazz almost sounds taken aback, like, "Oh shit, I fucked up."
So it's all on you, Trinity. No? Well,
but Rain ends up coming out, just instantly, like a shot. Rain comes out, starts fighting Jazz, and then after a while, after Rain gets worked over a bunch, Trinity comes out, beats up Jazz, does a sweet moonsault, goes for the pin, and then stops, and then calls in Rain. Rain gets the pin. 1, 2, 3. That's the end of that match. And we end, we're pretty far away from the end. We're like 25 to 30 minutes away from the end of this event. Excuse me. The last 25 to 30 minutes is sort of like a sermon. You have this dude come out, who we saw very briefly before Mark Jindrak's match. I did forget to mention this. There was a guy, and he was like adjusting the turnbuckles. Mark Jindrak comes out. He's doing his poses. He goes to one corner, and this dude's adjusting the turnbuckles, and he starts pushing him around like he's gonna fight him. That guy leaves. He comes back out with a broom, and he's supposed to be Jesus, and he starts talking at Percy Pringle, waving the finger, and says, "I've been quiet my whole life, but I'm going to stand up to you, and these people should stand up to you." And during this entire thing, I mean, you could tell a lot of people were just done by this point, because there were a lot of empty seats, especially on the hard camera. And yeah, this part killed me. I was me and Christianity don't exactly mix, and I could not handle this. I watched it twice. I watched Ring of Glory all the way through 2 times. One time taking notes in here, and another time like full on like writing all of the moves that happened, sort of getting together a script of about what I wanted to say, what I wanted to talk about. You couldn't tell because I say so much. I am sorry about that, but yeah, this part, I couldn't handle this. Like if I had paid to see, because if I was in the area during the time and I saw X-Pac on the card, I would have bought a ticket like that. Absolutely, I would have bought a ticket. I probably would have bought a shirt too. And actually, if anyone knows where I can get a Ring of Glory shirt, I would wear the shit out of that. So just, if you know where you can get a large-sized male Ring of Glory shirt, shoot me a message. But, yeah, this part, I would have left. I mean, I probably would have left during the Divas match, honestly. But if I had somehow made it through that part, probably because I wanted to see Paul Bearer come out and talk some more. But had I made it all the way through that, I couldn't have made it through this part. I would have left, much like a lot of the people seem to have done. So anyway, that's Ring of Glory. Like I said, I don't recommend it under any circumstances. I think it's about $10 on Amazon right now for the DVD, which I have. No, don't add this one to your collection. It does have a sweet holographic cover though, so I guess that it's got that going for it. It's very 90s, even though it was done in 2006. But anyway, that's it for this one, guys. My name is Ragnar. I'll see you again with another unboxing probably on Friday, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. Oh, man. I'll think of something. Later, guys.